Don in London, hello. May 2nd, nearly stumbled on that, May 2nd, 2009. My video is all about living in recovery from addiction to either substance or behaviour. Living in recovery, which means I don't do whatever it was which upset my system. My addictive substance was alcohol. My behaviour, trying to be perfect and never so, workaholic, relationshipaholic, all the holics and isms. And I've come back down to one ism, which is to remain sober a day at a time, or be sober, or live sober. I think it's actually living and experiencing my life sober. This means I get to the truth of me, hopefully, with less denials. We're not perfect, we'll make our progress as we can. And it is that, just presently making progress with my life, and incrementally, one day at a time, learning how to live and accept who I am and what I am. So I guess these days I learn more about how to be me, who I am on a daily basis, just a little bit more. And the fellowship of AA, Alcoholics Anonymous, helps me tremendously keep on track. To get to AA took medical, family, professional, community support, and I was as good as any other drunk or any other person suffering from addiction. And it is an ailment, a disease of our emotional and spiritual nature, I guess. We thought our way into drinking because we thought we could do it and get away with it. And the problem with thinking we can get away with it, we have self-will run riot and willpower deserting us in those final throes of trying to control something which is absolutely beyond our control. So my sober life is based on the premise that I am powerless over alcohol, and if I take a drink my life will become manageable again. And that's the first step of a 12-step action program that AA offers as suggestions, simply suggestions. And in the last 24 hours I've been discussing with more than one person what is sober. You know, we've got 12 steps of action for an individual, and what is sober? Sober is in the preamble of the fellowship meetings. It's shared at every meeting at the beginning, and it goes like this. And the reason why I say it is because I need to remind myself of that one thing. Alcoholics Anonymous is a fellowship of men and women who share their experience, strength and hope with each other, that they may solve their common problem and help others to recover from alcoholism. The only requirement for membership is a desire to stop drinking. There are no dues or fees for AA membership. We are self-supporting through our own contributions. AA is not allied with any sect, denomination, politics, organisation or institution, does not wish to engage in any controversy, neither endorses nor opposes any causes. Our primary purpose is to stay sober and help other alcoholics to achieve sobriety. And it's the stay sober and help other alcoholics achieve sobriety. What I learned, the reason why I say my addictions to substance and behaviour, but my primary addiction was covered up, and my primary addiction was not being sober, and drink, alcohol was the primary reason why I lost the plot. And listening to one or two other people who go to other fellowships besides AA, there are many other AA 12-step programs, and it can be for eating disorders, behavioural disorders, but behind it always it's the desire to be sober, to live the path of truth, open, honest and willing to connect with now, the reality of now, as best we can. We will always have some denials and filters going on, because sometimes we get overwhelmed, but we don't necessarily have to go back to covering it up with oblivion, with a drug or a particular way of behaving. And the reason why I'm saying this so emphatically this morning, I hear stories and misunderstandings about the 12-step program. The most important thing, if you are on a 12-step program, stick with the one you're on, so that you're not confusing the issue by going to multiple fellowships. I don't know how many steps one person thinks they can do at one time, but it's the logical ego mind which suggests to us that we can do more than one set of 12 steps. So if the actual primary purpose is to get sober and help other people be sober, the answer is whatever 12-step program you are working, if you deal with your primary addiction and connect with how to not overcome it, but live with the condition and get sobriety one day at a time, then I think and feel, emotionally I feel that's probably the best way. My thinking and my ego will say, go to as many fellowships as you think is right for you for all the addictions you have. And you know, if we have 12 fellowships which we are attending, or 3 fellowships, you can multiply by 12 steps. So you'll end up doing, if it's 3 fellowships you think you ought to be in, it's 36 steps. And this is what I hear. And you know, this is the cognitive thinking mind bewildering our emotional mind. So spiritual is seeing the truth of now, and emotional is accepting what is going on with our feelings. I've always come to the conclusion that our feelings never lie to us, but we can sure make our thinking elaborate. So if we feel something, we feel the truth, and then we either turn it into more truth by our thinking, or more denials and more filters, because we don't quite like or accept the truth. And you know, the greatest thing to do if we are in any fellowship program is accept step 1. And acceptance around step 1 is, if we drink or do whatever it is all the time to the point of addiction, life is unmanageable. So it's a plea really just to keep on one path of sobriety, and whatever 12-step program you're on, stick with it and it will work for you. But if you try and mix them up, I think there is a danger of overcomplicating, overthinking, and not actually getting to our emotional truth, the emotional truth of how to make our lives livable in the moment. So spiritual, emotional, physical are the, I suppose, measures we can apply to our recovery. But if we do it 36 times over in a day, can you do that? Only superficially. And the reason why I put cherish always at the end of my videos these days is because if we cherish ourselves enough and love ourselves enough, then we're onto a good firm standing to keep on going. And I was in the company of people with a few complaints yesterday, not in my meetings but generally about what they're up to, and I shared with them, you know, my understanding of spiritual truth. God is truth, God is love, God works through people. So if we isolate, we're on our own, in our own stinking thinking mode. And that people like Freud, or it's attributable to Freud, but I think it probably goes back thousands of years, saying that there are 3 key elements to living. The first is loving oneself, and then loving other people, and then having something useful to do. So back in the day, when we were just coming out of caves, it was all about get together with one person, love each other, and go find an animal to take home for dinner. And it hasn't really changed that much. We are not that overcomplicated. Our societies are elaborating things to make us feel better about our situation. But I think the emotional thing of to be loved, to love, and have something useful to do, whatever it is, you know, whatever endeavour it is, it's the way forward. And my time is short. I just want to share, I went out yesterday and I saw a very old man pass me on his bicycle, whizzing along. It's a speed which was beyond my capacity, and I've got a 21 speed bicycle, and it was a headwind, and I followed him as far as I could, and he ended up at an electric bike shop. Now, not being one to I just wanted to know how it worked, and he lent me his bicycle, ordinary bike, except it's got an electric motor in the back, and it goes along at 15 miles an hour, even up hills. So I was out on it for half an hour. I was only supposed to be out there for 5 minutes, but he was quite cool about it because he sells them, and he looked after my dear old bike, which can't cope with it. And well, actually, it's me, the rider, who can't keep up. So it was a momentous day to actually enjoy seeing the scenery go past and keep my eyes on the road as well. And one of my pastimes, my useful things to do, is to have something which I cherish as something I do, and that's taking photos. It's for me, not for anybody else, and I love it. So today I'm exhausted because I've been all over the place, and I'm looking after some pussycats or someone, and I'm just generally, I've overdone it. So it might seem a bit tired, and I haven't done the readings yet, and I may do them later. But the gift of today is simply this, with the Serenity Prayer. If I stick with it, God grants me the serenity to accept the things I cannot change. Let's accept the things I cannot change. Courage to change the things I can in the moment, and the wisdom to learn the difference, or know the difference. So just for today, that's all it is.